Here is this vibrational reality that has everything that you're wanting to know about. In fact, it's some of what you're asking us to help you find a more sure route to. We want you to know that the surest route to it is to accomplish a state of being. You might do it in meditation. You might do it just in pleasant thought. You do it when you slumber, but it's not quite the same. Then it can turn into a dream. But we want it to be a daydream where thought just occurs to you that has come out of the culmination of what's here. And as you catch a glimpse of it, and it is so pleasant to you that you just softly, without trying to make anything happen, let it play out in your mind, so that you catch a 5-second glimpse or a 10-second glimpse of what the possibility, probability, certainty of this vibrational reality is. Now, did we go too far, or are you following this? In other words, if thoughts are turning to things, and they certainly are, and if you are the thinker of the thoughts, and you've thought so many, and you've built this magnificent catalog or library of components, and if your inner being and source energy are all involved in all of that and focusing unequivocally on this magnificent creation, then wouldn't you mostly want to do that too? Mostly you would. Wouldn't you mostly want to be in a vibrational place where you could begin to get the feeling, at least, and then maybe glimpses of what's there? Sometimes, though, in fact, often, though, in fact, almost all the time, though, when you get a glimpse of something, you jump in with both feet and want to turn it into a reality that you accomplish. And so you turn it into something that requires action before it has given you enough information for you to realize that you don't need to act, that the energy that creates worlds will make it big enough that you can just follow the force of it. You see what we're getting at? When you jump in and try to act too soon, you introduce resistance into your equation, which makes you oblivious to the dream. Does this make sense to you? Where if you can let the dream evolve, let your vibration find it. Each time you find it, even if you get distracted, next time you will find it more easily, and next time you will find it more easily. And you know this. You've had these experiences happen to you. You sort of kind of know what we're talking about. It's not your usual pattern of thought, because most humans don't really even know about their vortex, and they don't know the power of it. But what we are wanting to emphasize here, right now, is something that we've been talking about for a long time, but never this clearly. We want you to experience firsthand the power of non-resistant thought. And we want you to therefore recognize the mundane quality, the lack of power in a normal human objective pros and cons, pluses and minus thought. You see what we're getting at? Do you know that your desires are pure, but your beliefs aren't? Because when you want more money, that could be a pure thought, in which case the abundance that you're seeking could just be floating into your experience in lots of different ways. But your awareness of your now reality, your awareness of how much money is in your bank account, or your awareness of how others around you are or have lived, those thoughts contradict this pure thought of abundance. And so you aggravate your own vibrational state of being with something that you think is objective, and most humans would say to you is a good idea, because they don't want you to go off the deep end and daydream your way through life. But we do, because we know the power of non-resistant thought. We also know the value of your contrasted thought. We know the value of step one of the process. We know it's important for you to know what you don't want, and you got to think about that. You got to think about what you don't want before you can launch the rocket of desire about what you do want. So you say, well, you all, Abraham, non-physical, whoever you are, You have us in a sort of bind here because we're here exploring contrast for the purpose of taking thought forward. How do we keep from getting stuck in that contrast? And we say, be aware of it. And if we were standing in your physical shoes, so if you've been listening to us for a little while, step one is ask, and contrast helps you do that. And creation comes from that. That's what puts the stuff into your vibrational reality. Step two is source answers your request. Someone should write that book, Ask and It Is Given. Because it is real. When you ask, there becomes a vibrational reality, and source gives undivided, which means non-resisted attention to what you're asking for. And the powerful law of attraction then gathers all the cooperative components of other non-resisted powerful thoughts. And that's why your vortex is such a powerful thing. Step three is you've got to find some way of getting out of step one, which means you got to find some way of getting out of step one, which really means you've got to find some way of getting out of step one. But you're oriented towards step one because that's where the struggle is, and that's where the monuments come from, and that's where all the sacrifice comes from, and blood gets a lot of attention. But you got to find some way of getting out of step one, which means you got to get into the receiving mode. And when you're in the receiving mode, then your vibrational reality can begin to occur to you in its whatever form you're ready to realize. If we could convince you today of the existence of this vibrational reality, this vortex, if you really believed us, things that you want would begin pouring into your experience in such frequency and abundance that those around you would think that something freaky had happened to you. Don't worry, you're not ready for that. Because while you accept it conceptually, you haven't yet mastered the feeling of alignment with it. But when a daydream occurs just for a moment, and it's just blissful about some experience, and it's a what you want and why you want it, but you are not yet trying to fill in how, where, when, and who, which always complicates it by adding resistance to it. As you catch these glimpses and just savor them. Now, we don't want you to learn to do this so that you can make wonderful things happen. Although, as you learn to do this, you will cause wonderful things to happen. But we don't want your motive to be, this is how I get wonderful things to happen. We want your motive to be, this is who I am. This is how I am supposed to feel. This is me in sync with the power of the universe, feeling no need to apply effort, no need to justify my worthiness, no need to defend against anything. Just me, natural and me, standing in this blessed place of acknowledging the beauty and blessedness of my being and getting to realize it and enjoy the realization of it. Oh, you know those positive emotions that you feel sometimes? That's you in sync with your inner being and feeling what your inner being is feeling in that moment. That's you tuned in, tapped in, turned on. That's you in your true, full power. And friends, nothing less than that will do for you. But that does not mean that you should never be back in step one. Of course you should. Of course you'll be back in step one. But you know, let's put some practical human comparison to this. If we were standing in your physical shoes, knowing what we know and knowing what we know about you and why you're here, we would allot 1% of our experience to the struggle of life where we're launching desires. 1%. And the other 99% we would be daydreaming. The other 99% would be basking, would have our feet in the river, would be floating on the sea, would be making love, we would be eating something delicious, we would be focused upon the beauty of nature and what is around, we would be daydreaming about any of those things, we would be sitting in a closet with no external awareness of anything, and our mind would be going to those kinds of places. Not because we need to create, but because that's who we all are. We are meant to feel good. We are meant to feel good, and the universe responds to our good feeling. Now hear this. Have you ever thought about, let's think about it. Your magnificent planet spinning in perfect proximity to other planets. Those are big thoughts that keep that happening. Wait, not big thoughts, pure thoughts. Non-resistant thoughts, non-fearful thoughts, non-physical thoughts. Good thing your thoughts aren't controlling that. We're just wanting to give you a little bit of relational comparison. We're not wanting you to feel bad. We're wanting you to realize that the power of non-resistant thought is true power. And that's what you're reaching for here. Not the right thought, the non-resistant thought, the thought that your life has helped you to sort out and your inner being has tended to. And source energy has allowed momentum or accomplished momentum about. So now, think about all of those who have lived before you, all those humans out here on the leading edge, and what they've lived and what they've wanted and what their lives have caused them to put into a vortex. And imagine the vortex of creation that you all rode in on. We can't really find a way to present to Esther a vibration that gives her obvious words, that helps her to explain to you in words the enormity of the lives that have been lived before you and the goodness that has been honed from that life, and the bigness of this vortex of well-being, that when you tap into it just a little bit and utilize the power of that non-resistance, that then what it accomplishes for you here in this physical environment is indescribable. People see you as masters. They just can't figure out how things happen for you the way they do. The clarity of your mind is just outrageous in comparison with most of the confusion people are running around in. But even more, it is the joy that you radiate as you move through life, because you know things that they have forgotten. You know the goodness of you, and you know the power of this energy, and you know the power of source energy, and you know the reason that you are here, and the perfection of you using your mind to focus upon what you want, to utilize the energy that creates worlds toward what matters to you, to blessed you see. Ooh. So doesn't it sort of make you want to stop mucking around in trying to fix things that are not really fixable, to try to explain to others things that they're not ready to hear? Don't you sort of just want to get into your focus and get into your alignment? Don't you want to meditate and allow your vibration to rise? And don't you want to just be nicer to yourself more of the time? And don't you want to spend more time in the daydream and less time facing reality? Don't you want to be a creator of magnificent reality? You are creators of reality. You are. Everything that comes to you, you have created it. But we want to talk for just a little bit about how it is that you've created it, because every thought that's ever been thought still exists. So there is this vibrational reality that we are calling your vortex, which is where all of your desires are gathered and becoming more and are tended to by the energy that creates worlds, by the consciousness that creates worlds. But every thought that has ever been thought by anyone, whether they're in a tuned in, tapped in, turned on state of being, or whether they are resistant to thought, every thought that has ever been thought still exists, and the law of attraction gathers them together in rivers and streams. And so there are plenty of resistant thought that humans have thought that you could become a vibrational match to, and sometimes they feel a little powerful. Hate and anger and mob rule, all of that, it feels like it has a power to it. And it does, but in comparison with this energy that creates worlds, it is puny and paltry and insignificant, and it will not ever be the dominant vibration on your planet. We want you to know you don't have to sift through it and sort it out. You don't have to win the battle of good and evil. There is no contest. There's no contest against evil, because there is no evil. There's just disconnected from good. That's all there is.